This conference will now be recorded.
In our last video, we talked about the breathing system and we looked at the organs of breathing system, more than just the lung. So some of the organs are in our face, some are down deeper in our chest. So in today's video, we're going to continue the same topic with more details, with more of the processes, and we will look at the functions of the organs in the breathing system. We'll look at the gas exchange inside the alveolus and what kind of features alveolus have that make them suitable for gas exchange. So, the air may enter your respiratory system through two ways, either your mouth or your nose. But its advantages to breathe in through your nose other than your mouth, because your nose has more than important function than just letting the air into the system. It has another important function. One of them is to warm the air. So the air is warmed before it enters the respiratory system and it becomes closer to body temperature. That's one important point. Another thing is that your nose contains tiny hairs and it produces mucus, which is important as a filter. It filters the air. It prevents the large particles like dust, pollen particles, and entering the rest of the respiratory system. And it also moistens the air, meaning that the lung cells need to remain wet for efficient diffusion, gas exchange in the alveoli. So it prevents it from drying out. Later on, the air goes down the trachea or windpipe. It also has important adaptations in the outer surface or inner surface. So we'll today look at the inner surface of trachea. The lining of the trachea is covered with specialized cell which is called ciliated epithelial cell. They have the very important function of keeping these airways clean and protecting the respiratory system from getting microbes or dust. It has two adaptations. One of them is that it produces a sticky liquid known as mucus. So the dust particles or microbes, they get stuck within the mucus because it's sticky. They stick to the mucus. And these little hairs called cilia, they have another function, like sweeping away these particles or microbes that get stuck to the mucus, and they can be removed from body in two ways. They can either be coughed out and they can either be swallowed. So after trachea, the air goes through bronchus. So the trachea is dividing into two smaller tubes, which is bronchi. So we have right bronchus, left bronchus, each of them leading to right lung and left lung. So the lung itself is made up of a lot of tiny air sacs that we call alveoli. So in this part of the respiratory system, gas exchange happens. That oxygen comes into your body and carbon dioxide is removed from the body. So far, what we know is that the air enters through your nasal valves, goes down the trachea. After the trachea, it goes to bronchus, right bronchus, or if it was here, the left bronchus. It enters the lung. At the end of bronchus itself branches into smaller units, bronchioles. So there's something you need to know about lung, that lungs are adapted in a way that their size regularly changes because you breathe in, volume increases, the size of lung increases, and you breathe out, the air is going out of the lung, causes the lung decrease in size. So there's usually a regular decrease and increase in the size of lung. So when that happens, the organs will touch each other, and because they need to fit in, and they will kind of rub against each other, and that will cause friction between the organs. So this is something we don't want, and there is actually a way that our body protects it from happening. So our lungs are within the protective bag, which we call pleural membrane. This pleural membrane surrounds our lungs, and it prevents the rubbing against each other. So it prevents the friction. So imagine that's the lung, and it's within this protective layer, pleural membrane, and between the lung and the pleural membrane keeps a special fluid, a pleural fluid, which acts like a lubricant that prevents and stops the friction. So the route that the oxygen takes down these respiratory organs for now is that trachea, the air goes to trachea, down the bronchioles, then to bronchioles, enters the lung. But what is happening next? What's happening is that at the end of bronchioles, we have a lot of air sacs, which we call them alveoli. And alveoli are units of lung. So whatever the lung is made of is alveoli, the air sacs. We have millions of them, 700 or 800 millions of them, which is very important because it gives lung a larger surface area. And that's advantages because you can get more oxygen and can get rid of more carbon dioxide. So gas exchange inside an alveolus. So inside an alveolus, what is happening is known as gas exchange, meaning that swapping of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the alveolus, that's one alveolus, and between the capillary that surrounds the alveolus. So each alveolus is covered with a lot of capillaries, blood vessels. So you know that blood vessels bring with themselves the blood. So a blood that is coming into the lung is more with carbon dioxide. Concentrated is following the law of diffusion, which states that the substances, molecules, always move from high concentration so that blood over here contains more carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide moves out of the blood and is increasing 21% of oxygen. So the oxygen from alveolus enters the bloodstream and binds with the hemoglobin, which is carried in red blood cells. So the blood is now oxygenated and it leaves the lung, going back to your heart. Then it will be pumped again to all your body cells because the blood which is traveling into your body cells needs to be concentrated with oxygen. So once again, what's happening? Carbon dioxide blood across these two membranes, membrane of capillary and then in of alveolus, it dissolves, it diffuses out to blood. So that is a gas exchange inside an alveolus. So to make it more efficient, alveolus has a lot of advantages features, which, for example, so that oxygen goes in, carbon dioxide goes out of the blood. So let's see the next objective, features of alveolus for gas exchange. So each alveolus, as I said before, is covered with a capillaries. A lot of capillaries surround the alveolus. This is important because oxygen needs to move into the bloodstream, and so then the alveolus and capillary, both of them, has very thin walls. So oxygen that needs to diffuse into the blood actually goes through two membranes. One membrane that surrounds the alveolus and another membrane of capillary. And both of them is very thin. And so this is the lining of alveolus, which is most important. In the first video about the process of inhalation and exhalation, we mentioned that inhalation is a process of breathing in that you breathe oxygen into your body, and exhalation is removing carbon dioxide from your body. So oxygen is a gas needed by your body cells for the process of respiration, and carbon dioxide is one of the waste products of respiration, and it needs to be removed from the body cells. And inhaling and exhaling is two different processes that we talked about what is happening when you breathe in, what kind of changes happen to rib cage and the diaphragm in the process of inhaling in and exhaling. So that's all about the breathing system so far. I hope these two videos will be helpful for you. In order to make it more, let's say, helpful for you, I would like you really to use your copybooks, as I mentioned in the first video, to make notes, to write down the lesson objectives, if you can, to draw some of the diagrams in your copybooks, which are important that you may come across in the exam questions. Good luck, everyone. See you soon.